The torn ticket flutters to the floor like an accusation no one dares to pick up. For a second, no one breathes. The clerk's smirk fades just enough for guilt to peek through, but pride keeps her lips sealed. The woman doesn't bend to retrieve the paper. She simply watches it fall, her eyes steady, a mirror too calm for the chaos around her. A guard coughs, uneasy. Somewhere behind them, a phone camera clicks. One sound, then another. Whispers start, soft, hesitant, like people trying to decide which side of the story they're on. The woman's voice cuts through the hush. "You tore what you didn't understand. Just that. No anger, no demand." The clerk straightens, defensive. "Ma'am, it was invalid. You didn't follow," but the words die halfway. The woman's eyes don't flinch. "You think rules protect you? They just reveal you." The silence deepens. A man in line lowers his gaze. Another records. The power in the room tilts, invisible, heavy. The clerk's fingers tremble slightly as she tries to look busy on her computer, typing nonsense into nothing. The woman turns, not rushed, not broken. "Keep it," she says, nodding toward the torn ticket. "You'll need proof of what you lost." She walks away, the murmurs behind her rising like a tide. Shame, curiosity, realization. The camera light blinks red. The moment freezes, history captured by strangers who didn't know they were watching the start of a reckoning. The laughter starts small, a stifled chuckle from the clerk's coworker, half hidden behind the computer screen. Then another joins in. It's not loud, not cruel in sound, but sharp in intent. The woman stands still, her fingers resting lightly on the counter, her voice steady when she says, "I asked about my boarding pass, not your amusement." The clerk looks up, smile fixed like armor. "It's just your pronunciation. You said ticket, not ticket." A pause, then a smirk. Cute. The word lands heavier than it should. Cute, as if dignity were a costume. Around them, no one speaks. A man in a suit pretends to check his phone. A mother hushes her child. The silence doesn't protect. It participates. The woman exhales, calm but trembling somewhere inside. "You heard my accent," she says quietly, "and decided that's all I am." The co-worker laughs again, softer now, unsure if it's still safe. "Relax, ma'am. No need to get offended," but the calm in her voice hardens. "I'm not offended. I'm reminded," the clerk frowns. "Of what?" "That sometimes the smallest people stand behind the biggest counters." Her words hang in the air. The laughter fades, not from guilt, but fear of being overheard. Phones lift subtly. One traveler records. The atmosphere shifts, oxygen turning thick with awareness. The woman collects her torn ticket, her movements slow, deliberate. She meets the clerk's eyes once more. "Keep laughing," she says softly. "One day someone will ask who started it." The counter falls silent. Only the hum of the airport remains, sterile, endless, and suddenly, very loud. The guards arrive without hurry. Two men in Navy uniforms, shoes polished, voices rehearsed for authority. "Ma'am, we've been called to handle a disturbance," one says, not looking her in the eyes. The clerk folds her arms, suddenly smaller behind her counter. The woman doesn't move. She stands still, her bag at her feet, her torn ticket folded neatly between her fingers. "What disturbance?" Her voice isn't raised, just steady enough to cut through the noise. "She was raising her voice," the clerk says quickly, making passengers uncomfortable. The lie lands awkwardly. Even the guards glance at each other. One clears his throat, his tone softening. "Let's just step aside, ma'am." She nods once, gathers her things. "Of course." They walk a few feet away, where the crowd's whispers fade, but cameras still blink. The younger guard hesitates. "You didn't yell," he murmurs. "I didn't need to." He swallows, eyes flicking toward the clerk. They always say," she finishes gently. Her calm disarms him more than anger could. The older guard, rigid, mutters, "Ma'am, let's not make this harder." She looks at him, not pleading, not proud, just looking long enough for his composure to crack. Harder for whom? Silence. Around them, travelers pretend not to stare, but their stillness speaks louder than words. She hands him the torn ticket, her fingers unshaking. "Here," she says. Since paper holds more power than people. He doesn't take it. No one does. The folded slip remains in her palm, a quiet proof that dignity, when unbroken, can shame a room without a single raised voice. The woman walks slowly toward the exit, the torn ticket still folded in her hand. Each step sounds louder than the hum of engines, louder than the clerk's nervous chatter behind the counter. "It's over," the clerk says to no one, her laugh thin, desperate. But no one laughs back. The guard stands frozen, hat in hand. "You should have just let her board," he mutters under his breath. The clerk snaps, "You saw how she talked to me." He doesn't answer. Instead, his eyes follow the woman, the calm tilt of her shoulders, the stillness that refuses to bow. A child nearby tugs at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, why are they watching her?" The mother hesitates, whispers, "Because they don't know how to look away." The woman pauses at the sliding doors. A rush of cold air sweeps in. She turns slightly, not enough to meet anyone's gaze, just enough for the moment to stretch. Her silence speaks louder than any protest, an unspoken reminder that dignity doesn't need permission. Inside, the clerk exhales shakily. The room feels smaller now. Every surface seems to reflect what she's done. Her reflection in the glass looks older, harsher. "It wasn't that bad," she whispers, as if saying it could undo the moment. But it lingers. Her laughter, the cameras, the quiet that followed. The silence she mocked has now filled the room, pressing down like truth. Outside, the woman disappears into the light, leaving the world to choke on the sound of its own excuses. A low hum fills the boardroom, the kind of quiet that pretends to listen. She stands at the end of a long glass table, slides of her proposal glowing behind her. "If we expand through East Africa," she says softly, "we can—" A man interrupts, smiling like he's helping her. "I think what she means is we could diversify our presence." Laughter follows, the friendly professional kind that sounds like approval but smells of dismissal. She nods slightly, not to agree, but to survive. Inside, narration murmurs. They never hear you if you don't echo their voice. She folds her papers neatly as another man takes over her pitch, presenting her vision as his. Cameras flash. Her name fades from the slides. Weeks later, she watches the same plan being celebrated on the news, her logo, her design, her dream, reborn under someone else's name. Her mentor calls it how the game works. She calls it theft wrapped in handshakes. At another meeting, she speaks again, slower this time. "You'll need clearance from Nairobi." Silence. Then the same man smiles. "You're good with details." Her tone doesn't rise, but her eyes sharpen. "No, I'm good with direction." He pauses, the first crack in the room's smooth surface. That's how it always begins, not with a shout, but with one sentence that doesn't bend. Outside, the elevator mirrors her reflection, calm, unreadable. She whispers to herself, "They'll remember my silence longer than their applause." And they did. Years later, the same men would scroll through viral headlines, trying to recall where they'd seen her before. The girl they ignored in boardrooms was now the woman who owned the sky above them. The HR office smells of fresh coffee and disinfectant, clean enough to hide what festers underneath. Alicia stands in front of the glass wall, the city's skyline behind her, holding a printed email marked "Confidential." Her voice stays even. "You said the diversity complaint was being reviewed." Mr. Langley doesn't look up. His tie is straight, his face unreadable. It was, but the committee found no direct violation. She takes a breath. "The committee?" Her tone cracks a little. "That's you, Karen and Mark." Langley nods. "The policy requires senior oversight." A silence. She nods slowly as if trying to swallow the truth. "Senior oversight of your own actions." He leans back. "You have to understand, Alicia, these things are delicate. We can't jump to conclusions every time someone feels uncomfortable. The word feels lands like an insult." She looks at the email again, the one where her promotion didn't align with leadership vision. She had trained the man who replaced her. In her head, narration murmurs, "They never say no directly. They write it in tone, in timing, in next quarter promises." She sets the email on the table. I'm not here to make trouble. I'm asking for fairness. Langley's smile widens, a perfect company smile. And you're getting it. Procedures exist for a reason. She stares at him long enough for him to look away. I used to believe that, she whispers. He clears his throat. Let's stay professional, Alicia. Her voice steadies. I am. He nods, unsure who's in control anymore. The fluorescent light hums above them, filling the silence that says everything about a system that smiles while it swallows its own sins. It was 2:13 a.m. The airport cleaning shift had just started when Malik found the phone under the counter, still recording, still trembling in his hand. He watched the video once, then again, the screen reflecting in his tired eyes, the woman's calm face, the laughter, the ripping sound, then silence. He sat on the floor, mop leaning against his shoulder. They won't care, he whispered to himself. His voice cracked like the linoleum beneath him. The night supervisor walked by, tossing a glance. You still here, Malik? Go easy on the trash talk online. People lose jobs for less. Malik nodded, pocketing the phone. Yeah, just cleaning. Later, in the staff break room, the flickering vending machine light pulsed over him. His thumb hovered above the upload button. He thought about his son, about how he once said, Dad, people only listen when it's loud enough. His heart thudded. Loud enough. He hit post. By morning, the world had seen it. Her voice, their laughter, the clerk's smirk, the sound of the passport burning. The silence that followed became the sound of rage. Phones rang across the terminal. PR emergency. Contain it. Suspend her immediately. Langley's face went pale in a conference room full of blinking screens. How did this leak? Karen whispered. Someone wanted to be heard. Online, comments flooded in. Words like justice, shame, truth. People replayed the video, pausing on the woman's stillness, her refusal to break. Malik sat on the bus that evening, window light flickering over his reflection. He didn't smile. He just whispered, she didn't have to shout. The world heard her anyway. The video looped again, proof that silence, once uploaded, could finally speak. The meeting room smelled of fear, sterile, polished, and faintly metallic. The projector screen froze on the paused video, her passport burning, the laughter echoing faintly through the speakers before someone muted it. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. Turn it off, Langley whispered, voice brittle. Karen fumbled with the remote. It's everywhere now. BBC, CNN, Twitter. Langley slammed a folder shut. Damage control. We release a statement. Say it was an isolated... Sir, she interrupted softly. People saw you there. The room froze again. Papers stilled midair, breaths caught halfway. He looked at her, eyes narrowing. What's your tone? Karen's hand trembled. Someone has to say it! Across the table, a junior analyst muttered, She didn't even raise her voice, sir. That's what everyone keeps saying. She just stood there. Langley turned toward the glass wall, his reflection fractured by daylight. For years, that glass had been his shield, transparent, untouchable. Now it felt like a cage. She humiliated this company, he said finally. No, Karen replied, quieter this time. You did. Silence swallowed the boardroom. Outside, employees pretended to work, stealing glances through the glass. The ones who once laughed at her now whispered her name like a prayer. Langley sat down slowly, shoulders sinking. I built this place. And she owned it, Karen murmured. He didn't answer, just stared at his reflection, cracked by sunlight, blurred by breath. In the hallway, someone closed the door softly, like sealing off a confession. Inside, the air thickened with the weight of everything unsaid. The system that once thrived on silence had finally choked on it. The lobby buzzed with camera shutters, each flash a nervous apology. Langley stood stiff beside the podium, rehearsed regret written across his face. The crowd parted as she entered. No entourage, no dramatics, just the same beige coat from that day. Her calmness felt heavier than any anger. A reporter whispered, "That's her," as microphones tilted forward. The clerk, the same one who burned her passport, froze near the reception desk, clutching a clipboard that rattled with her shaking hands. Langley cleared his throat. "On behalf of the airline, She raised her hand gently. "You've spoken enough." The room fell silent. Even the cameras paused, as if the moment itself held its breath. She walked closer, stopping just beside him. "You taught me something," she said quietly. "How power hides behind apology." Langley's jaw tightened. "This is not the place." "It's exactly the place," she interrupted, still calm. "You built your success on silence. I learned to build mine on patience." A reporter's voice sliced through. "Ma'am, will you be pressing charges?" She turned toward them, her voice soft but unshakable. "No, I plan to educate them." The words hung in the air, not like threat, but judgment. Langley exhaled shakily. "Educate?" She nodded once. "Ignorance is a luxury I can no longer let you afford." Gasps scattered. The clerk looked down, tears breaking quietly. The cameras caught every twitch, every swallow, every shameful silence. Outside the glass wall, her private jet waited, its silver body glinting in morning light, her name etched across its side. She turned to leave. "The sky doesn't remember insults," she murmured. "It remembers names." And this time, everyone did. Langley's lips parted, but the apology wouldn't come. The manager beside him shifted, voice cracking through a forced smile. "On behalf of—" She didn't move closer. She didn't have to. "On behalf of what?" Her tone was almost kind. "The policy? The silence? Or the people you trained to mistake cruelty for procedure?" The words weren't loud, but they struck harder than a shout. The cameras clicked like distant thunder. The clerk wiped at her mascara, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean—" "You did," the woman said softly. "You just didn't mean to get caught." A gasp rippled through the room. Langley turned toward her, red creeping up his neck. "This isn't how justice works." "It's exactly how it works," she interrupted. Quietly, slowly, until everyone in this room feels it sitting on their chest. The microphones tilted closer. The woman took a breath, calm, deliberate. "This morning I came to board a flight. Today I bought the sky you tried to close against me. The air broke open. No one clapped. No one dared. It was too heavy. The kind of silence that rewrote power itself." Langley's throat bobbed. The clerk sobbed into her sleeve. Somewhere a journalist whispered, "Did you get that?" She turned toward the door, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't record justice," she said. "You feel it." She walked out as phones buzzed, hashtags began, and history reshaped itself in real time. Outside, the wind caught her scarf and lifted it, almost bowing. Inside, the empire she'd endured for years began to tremble, not from protest, but from the quiet collapse of its own reflection. The clerk sat in the blue glow of her laptop, the same screen that once held her whole life, playlists, chats, plans. Now it only replayed one thing, her own voice laughing over a burned passport. The video paused mid-frame, her smirk frozen forever online. She shut it fast as if closing the lid could silence the world, but the echo stayed. The laughter, hers, felt foreign now, like something that belonged to another person entirely. Her phone buzzed once. A message. "They mentioned you on the news again." She didn't reply. She hadn't replied in weeks. Most days, she just stared at the wall where sunlight no longer reached. Her mother had stopped calling. Her friends, the ones who once joked about those people, quietly removed her from group chats. The company statement came out yesterday. "We are deeply committed to diversity and training programs." Her name wasn't mentioned. It didn't need to be. Everyone knew. A knock startled her. Too gentle to be a threat. She waited, breath held, until the sound faded. She opened her laptop again. The clip replayed itself automatically. This time, she didn't stop it. Her voice trembled in the recording. "You people always think rules don't apply to you." Now, she whispered to the empty room, "I didn't think they applied to me either." The words hung there. Raw, broken, almost prayer-like. No crowd, no cameras, just silence. The kind that wraps around guilt and won't let go. Outside, a notification blinked again. What was her new comment? Some lessons don't fade. She didn't respond. The laptop dimmed, and for the first time she understood what true noise was, the kind that comes from within. The engines hummed like a heartbeat, steady, patient, almost forgiving. She sat by the window, fingers resting against the cool glass, watching the clouds drift apart beneath her. Below, the city, the same one that once laughed at her accent, her calm, her silence, now looked impossibly small. The interviewer across from her hesitated before speaking. You never sued them. Never made a statement. People called it weakness. She smiled faintly. People confuse noise with strength. He leaned forward. Then why speak now? Her gaze stayed on the horizon. Because silence only teaches if someone listens. A pause settled, heavy but soft. The recorder blinked red, waiting. They said I was too quiet to change anything, she continued, voice low, almost tender. But silence, when carried with truth, becomes thunder. For a moment, neither moved. The engines roared gently beneath their stillness, carrying her higher. She looked down again, where the airport once stood as a place of humiliation. Now, just beyond its gates, a small plaque shimmered under the morning sun. Dignity never needs a ticket. Travelers stopped to read it. Some took photos. Others just stood still. The interviewer asked quietly, "Did you write that?" She shook her head. No, but maybe they finally understood. He closed his notebook. The sky widened outside, endless, forgiving. Her reflection appeared faintly in the glass, calm and unshaken. No anger. No pride. Just peace, the kind born not from winning, but from outlasting cruelty without becoming it. As the jet turned toward the light, she whispered almost to herself, They tried to take the sky from me, and the clouds. Vast and white seemed to whisper back. Not anymore.